The Galapagos Islands off the coast of Ecuador have been on my bucket list since I was a child, and this adventure to experience Darwin's playground is truly a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
This is very different to the bush that I'm used to, but I could not be more excited to set out and explore.
And there's that warm andBeyond welcome that I always love wherever I travel.
As much as I'm going to enjoy learning how to live on this boat, I am just itching to get out there. So I think it's time for our first adventure. Over the next few days, I'm going to be traveling to different islands, and each island has something unique about it, whether it be the landscape or a specific animal species. And the first island we'll be exploring is Seymour Island, and we'll be led by our guide Franklin, who knows these places like the back of his hand, which is fantastic because I'm not sure I would make it back to the boat otherwise, with so much to be looking at. Here come the frigatebirds! On almost all the islands, you can see different bird species, but Seymour is known mainly for its nesting population of frigatebirds,
with the males known for inflating their red neck pouches during their courtship displays.
Amongst this colony, there's both species of frigatebirds that you find in the Galapagos nesting here. There's the magnificent frigatebird and the great frigatebird. A bit difficult to tell the difference, but the magnificent frigatebird is a little bit bigger, and the female has a blue ring around her eye, whereas the female of the great frigatebird has a red ring around the eye. Now, the male's a bit more difficult to tell because they both have a big red pouch that they inflate when they're breeding, and the juveniles, you may need looking at size because they look identical. They both have white heads regardless of the species. This island is filled with a tree known as Palo Santos, or a Galapagos incense tree, and the smell is just delicious. They've got very few leaves at the moment because it hasn't rained here for a while, so everything is really dry and brown, but there's these beautiful pops of colour everywhere from these little succulents. The birds and reptiles here have never been majorly disturbed by humans, so they tend to let you get quite up close and personal. Franklin told me I should watch out because the frigatebirds might think my hair is good nesting material, which I'm not sure if I'm looking forward to or not. I guess it depends on how hard they pull. We have to stick to a designated path while exploring these islands, and that's because most of the species here can only be found on these specific islands. So to protect them and prevent us from disturbing their habitat and their nests, we have to stay within the white markers. We're also only allowed a short amount of time on each island to limit the amount of exposure these animals have to people. These birds are generally kleptoparasites, which means they steal food from other birds, and there are a few blue-footed boobies that I've spotted in the distance amongst the nests, so I'm sure there's more around here if there's this many frigatebirds congregating here. The frigatebirds can't dive very well because they have a super lightweight body so that they can glide along the cliff sides here. And so they tend to rely on the different bird species for their meals. It's hard to believe when walking amongst the rocks that this island was created by volcanic activity from under the ocean. The amount of life on this island that was once upon a time just ash is phenomenal to think about.
Oh, here's one of the male frigatebirds, and another.
Only 1% of the Galapagos is open to tourism. So can you imagine how much of these islands remain completely undisturbed and maybe even undiscovered? The birds tend to nest in the center of the islands, but there's often sea lions and reptiles out towards the beach and the rocks on the edge.
And speaking of sea lions, here they are. And as you can tell, they're not afraid of us either.
These little lava lizards are everywhere. You have to look carefully so you don't stand on them. But Franklin tells me that every island has its own species of lava lizard. So I think we'll be seeing a decent amount of them around. Another super special reptile to see out here is the marine iguana. They vary slightly in size and colour depending on the species and the island where they're found. They don't move very much, but I guess the black volcanic rocks and the sunshine are a pretty good place to lie if you're a lizard. These are Galapagos sea lions. There's a few small differences that distinguish them from other sea lions around the world, but these guys are endemic to the Galapagos Islands, like a lot of the animals we'll see along the way. The sea lions are too cute, but you have been warned, they will bite if you get too close. And their teeth, by the looks of things, are very sharp. You can tell the younger sea lions from the adults because they're still so playful. Most of the adults tend to just lounge around in the sand, which I guess when you're swimming around all day, it's a pretty good option. But the youngsters need a lot more stimulation because they're still discovering a lot about what their life is going to become. I've never been anywhere where there's so much happening all around me all at once. And the little ones are also extremely curious. Especially the one sniffing my camera lens. But I've also been followed a few times. These guys are everywhere. I don't know where to look. This is such a different environment to what I'm used to. And it's a bit overwhelming. I can't actually believe that I'm here.
Another reason for the Galapagos Islands being so important in terms of tourism as well as conservation is that the animals here cannot migrate because the islands are too far apart from one another, and so they have learned to adapt to their environment, and over time this has caused specific species to become endemic to specific islands. This little warbler, however, that's seemingly eating flies off of the sea lions can be found across a few of the different islands, I'm told. These islands have risen at a point in the Pacific Ocean where they are surrounded by 3 different ocean currents. And because these currents are of varying degrees in temperature, when they come together, it creates this beautiful teal, turquoisey blue water. And all of that helps to encourage the growth of these incredibly unique marine ecosystems. What a way to start this adventure, from the arrival to the animals and the gorgeous sunset over the sea. But I will see you again next time, where we will do a little bit of exploring under the waves. I cannot wait.